Hey guys, I wanted to talk a little bit about stablecoins and staking because there's been so Seattle John mentioned something about stablecoins, and I said, oh yeah, that's I've been thinking about stablecoins for a while. I haven't done anything about it, and then Andre R&D had mentioned something about staking a few days ago. And I don't think that anything that Andrew R&D said is. I mean, I would probably know if it was happening. There's nothing happening with staking, so maybe that's a rumor, or I don't know what that is, but it is related to conversations that I'm having and have had today with Ericsson about stablecoins. And I'll share my thoughts about it with you guys. Um, so nothing that I'm gonna say is any promise or guarantee that anything's gonna happen. Everything that I say is just a thought experiment into possibilities. Um, None of it's really figured out yet, so I'm just gonna share my thoughts based on the conversations I've had. So a stable coin, most of the probably all the stable coins, and I'll disclaim that I'm not an expert in any of this. So I'm going to make a lot of guesses, and my experience with stable coins come from using them as a user, and just having some educated guesses on how the business model works. So that's a lot of disclaimers. Um, Stable coins, at the moment, as far as I know, they're all pegged to the U.S. dollar. So some company, and these are important distinctions. So some centralized company opens up a bank account somewhere that can accept currency, fiat currency, U.S. dollars, and deposit dollars are deposited into that company's account, and then that company uses a smart contract on the Ethereum network, so an ERC20 smart contract, to mint new tokens equal to the number of dollars that were deposited into their bank account. And then those tokens can be sent around the Ethereum network, or the Polygon network, which could be interesting. And the idea is that you can use them on exchanges to get in and out of a volatile currency into a less volatile currency, without banks. A lot of this. So one of the benefits of a stable coin is that there's none of the delays or fees, or in theory, KYC or regulation to transfer a stable amount of dollar units that you would otherwise have problems doing with the bank. And the business model for doing that, so Circle does it, and Tether does it, and the business model for them is that they receive hundreds of millions of dollars of deposits that are sitting in a bank account that they control. And if you have hundreds of millions of dollars in a bank account, you can use some of that money to get a yield, to get a return. So maybe you can get 5% on some of the money, not all of it. So you issue a stable coin, and now you could get tens of millions of dollars in revenue from those bank deposits. There's a couple problems with that. I think that I think that I know that it's traditionally been hard for companies like Circle and Tether to have good banking relationships, stable banking relationships. They've so Tether has had to go to countries like Panama for banking, and there's risk in that, right? There's risk that that money won't be available when they think it will be. The other side of that is a company like Circle, who is a U.S. regulated company, and they're putting dollars into a U.S. bank account, and there's more stability in doing that from a standpoint of what will the bank exist tomorrow? Will the you're not going to get sanctioned by the U.S. for a U.S. bank account necessarily, but the risk on that side is the weaponization of the dollar and the increased regulation on the banking sector. So I would imagine that Circle has ever increasing pressure from regulators and bankers to have a whitelist and a blacklist for addresses that their USDC token could be sent to and from. I imagine that gets worse every day. So there's some risk that your address participated in a transaction with some other address, 3 transactions removed, and now the USDC smart contract will block your access to that money. That's a risk. So we've been thinking about how to use the Millix network to mint and burn a stable coin that is not centralized and has all the benefits of the small fees and the large scale of the Millix network, right? When you mint or when you have a USDC coin or a Tether coin, a dollar represented in that coin, you still have to pay the transaction fees on Ethereum or Polygon, and that part's a little more fuzzy to me. But you might have to pay a $10 fee when you're trying to move 10 cents, and Millix would be a good solution for that. We've put thought into, instead of having a stable coin that's USD stable, having a stable coin that's BTC stable. So when you convert, so you would convert Bitcoin to Millix stablecoin, and that coin, that Millix stablecoin, would always be worth the same number of satoshis. And I don't think that's been done yet. And I think that maybe one of the reasons there's a couple reasons why it hasn't been done, but one of them is that you've kind of changed the definition of stable from something that people expect to something new. Even though it's still stable, you still have a number of satoshis that you have a claim on that doesn't change. The value of Bitcoin does change. And my thought on that is that the value of Bitcoin does go up and it does go down, but the purchasing power of a dollar only goes down. And that's not a risk, that's a guarantee. So even though, one USDC or one Tether equals $1, $1 doesn't equal the same thing tomorrow that it did yesterday. So that's pegging to BTC might be something that we talk about. Now, because I mentioned the regulatory risk and the whitelist and the blacklist risk that USDC or Tether has, you start to think that the best backing collateral for a stablecoin is a bearer asset, which would be treasury bills, which those could become subject to whitelist, blacklist. You've got gold, which is difficult to divide into small micropayments or fractions and difficult to move. And then you've got Bitcoin. Those are kind of your three premier classes of assets for settlement transactions. So that's why Bitcoin could be an alternative there. The other thing about stable coins is that there's a series of risks, kind of technical risks. So you've got the regulatory risk that the money will just be blocked. Then you've got an additional risk that the smart contract that's controlling the minting and the burning of the units could be compromised. Then you've got the additional risk that the protocol that smart contract sits on could be compromised. Okay? So there's risk involved, technical risk involved, regulatory risk involved, and developer risk involved. We would want to, so we wouldn't use a smart contract. We'd use an agent like the Millix bridge, and you've got developer risk there. We would use Lightning or the Bitcoin protocol for the counterparty side of the stability, and I would argue, so there's risk there, but I would argue that there's less risk with the Bitcoin protocol than there is with Ethereum, and certainly less than something like Polygon. So so why would we do this? That's not entirely clear either. And this gets into staking. So I mentioned why you would want to be a company like Circle or Tether and be getting dollar yield on hundreds of millions of dollars of cash deposits. That's easy to understand. If you are using Bitcoin instead of dollars to stabilize the currency, you can't. Here's the hypothetical question that we asked ourselves today. Do you want to be in control of a Bitcoin wallet, a Bitcoin private key that contains $200 million worth of Bitcoin and cannot produce yield? So there's no income or benefit to you coming from holding that much money. There's only bad things that can happen. You lose the key, you lose the money, you still owe the money, and there was nothing to compensate for insurance along the way. So you know, the option then is staking some of it, and then you have you have some audit problems where it's not obvious that this one address contains the same number of units that you've minted in the stable currency, in the Millix stable currency. So the audits become harder. Then you've got counterparty risk on the staking, which you could say, well, you could maybe stake it in liquidity pools on DeFi, and maybe that's a possibility. But you just can't be a custodian for $200 million worth of Bitcoin without there being some compensation to secure it. There just can't be. So that's an open question. And then kind of the question, why would we do it in the first place? If there is some good reason to do it, there's some compensation to offset the cost of security. So there's some reason to do it. And then you're adding value to the Millix network. There has to be a real compelling benefit to the community to have something like that, and maybe it's that you can transfer money back and forth in extremely small sizes for very small fees, which is kind of the benefit of Tether or USDC, but without the Ethereum fee structure. So that could be interesting. Somebody's going to figure that out, whether we do it or not. Having the Millix, call it MBTC, having the Millix stablecoin as a currency available on Tangled, that could be interesting. It takes out it may take out a step in exchanging from Millix to something else, or being able to convert between some stable currency and some new stable coin within the Tangled browser. So all at a protocol level, which then decentralizes that exchange process. That could be interesting. But anyway, those are some thoughts in kind of direct reply to what I said to Seattle John and what Andre R&D had mentioned about staking. Nothing's happening, but it is something that I have an interest in pursuing, and there are some conversations happening. That's what I got for that. Okay. Now, since I'm not doing a normal video anyway, let me show you something. This is a conversation between Tantelli and me, and it's happening in a weird place. It's happening on a post by Crypto Bajaria from yesterday. He did one of his excellent YouTube videos for crypto news for the Moroccan community and the Arabic community, and Tantelli and I just got into a conversation about making videos, and he kind of made this. He put a stake in the ground and said, "I'm the most introverted guy on the planet, and so making a video that's a no-go. That is off the table. Can't do that." And we talked about it a little bit, and I gave him some tricks that I've done to kind of get over that. But he kind of he closed his side of the conversation by saying that he could never imagine me as an introvert or a shy person. He only sees me as an accomplished guy without fear, and that's what I wanted to address that. I've mentioned before, you can divide the entire population into two different categories. Some of the population is motivated by seeking pleasure. They're looking for pleasure. They're making decisions in life to achieve more pleasure. The other category of people are people who are making decisions and whose behavior is motivated to avoid pain. Okay, so those people have fear, and that's the bucket that I'm in. So I've got 100% fear. I am not a man without fear. I'm a man with 100% fear. But when you have so much fear about so many things, they start to get different levels of priority in your decision making. And you're less fearful of some things than you are of other things. And in the case of so one of my really big fears that I run into a lot, because I build so many things, one of my fears is no one will care. That's a big fear. No one's going to care. You put all the work in, you build it, you launch it, silence. Nobody cares. Okay, that's a fear. So if I came to the realization that making videos might help people to care, even though I'm afraid of making the videos, I'm less afraid of making the video than I am of no one caring, right? So I don't know if that helps in the case of Tantelli, because I don't know what his fears are, but introverts are generally fear-driven people. And I don't know if making videos would be would lead to him accomplishing something that he wants or reducing the fear that he has in some bigger area. But I just wanted to share that conversation because a lot of us are afraid of a lot of things, but you you have to find ways to not let that stop you. If achieving something is fundamentally important to you, then you're going to have to get past some fear, some level of fear. And I mentioned how that worked with my videos. I also mentioned that these videos that I'm making, I'm only making them because, you know, I started to make them because I didn't want no one to care about Tango Social. But I continued to make them because Crypto Bajaria challenged me to make a lot of them, a lot of videos. And after some number of videos, then the fear goes away. And that's a cool lesson too, because you can get past any fear if you are comfortable with suffering for some period of time to get past it. And I am comfortable with suffering. So let's call that the video for today. Oh, I also you guys already saw this, but we launched 2 features yesterday. Delayed comments and premium posts, and I'll just talk you through quickly. This is a long video. Delayed posts or delayed comments within a post allows somebody running an activity to ask a question and for people to make comments that answer the question, but nobody else can see those answers for some period of time. So like if it's guess who this is in the picture, it prevents the copy paste behavior that we've seen so much of. So it's good for running activities or maybe doing voting or polls. And we have to continue to improve that a little bit. There's some, like the person who creates the content should be able to see the comments always. And we'll release that probably early next week. And there's some complications with that too, but we'll figure that out. And then we also launched premium posts yesterday, and that allows a content creator to say you can't see this content unless you pay some amount of money. And we didn't say anything yesterday, but there's already a lot of posts that are experimenting with that feature, and we have to improve that one too. So what we're going to do this weekend is we're going to allow the content creator, if they're going to charge you to see the content, we're going to give them the ability to write some text about that content, kind of marketing text that you can see to help you decide whether you want to click that button, spend the money to see the content. So we'll do that. We also, it would be great if we had kind of a blur effect on the content. So you could kind of see a little bit what's going on and kind of pique your interest on that before you decide to pay. And we'll figure that out, but we can't do it as quickly as it seems like we should for a technical reason. And we already do that for adult content, but when we did it for adult content, we didn't do it with security, like transactional payment security in mind. So we have to harden the way that we do that so that you can't just bypass the blur effect locally on your machine. So we'll keep working on that, and we are going to have we're going to launch a new feed similar to What's New or the video feed. We're going to have a feed that's dedicated to premium content, the premium posts that you have to pay to see. So that's what's going on, and I shall return possibly tomorrow with content related video. Until then, I'll talk to you guys later. Ciao, Bella.